man. But before ever I go, I have a request to make. The request is, I feel somehow good when you are mentioning country from Africa. You call Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, that they are in this organization. I'm from Sierra Leone. So a humble request I'm making, in as much as African countries are in the organization, please, can you add my country, dear Sierra Leone? So that the subsequent time, instead of calling 193, let it be 194. That would be so much pleasing to me.
Sure, and thank you.
That's the request I want. Because I've sent the message to the university that I'm lecturing. I even spoke to my head of department, the principal. Everybody is ready for that. So I say I should make this request before ever I do anything. I'm so much pleased, very happy, especially for ma'am. I usually disturb her with text, and she never relates. As soon as she sends responded, I'm happy with all of you. So my presentation, I'm a research scholar in KLU University, 100 Pradesh, Wadisram here. And my topic is analysis of factors for effective academic assessment, because I'm in the field of academia. So whatever I'm doing, I have to concentrate in terms of academics. So that is my topic. And a way of introduction, I look at assessment as a critical material for determining students' accomplishment in higher education. As we all know, in higher education, focus is mainly centered on assessment. Without proper assessment, you cannot give an output that is outstanding that can defend the institution where they came from. So therefore, I'm looking at assessment as a key priority. And another one says academic assessment includes all activities which the institution perform to collect data about the learners. In this one, you centered it both on the learners and even the faculty or the lecturer or the teacher. You first of all ask your mind, am I giving the right information to my student? Are they getting what I'm giving them? Would they apply what I'm giving them in my absence? You have to assess yourself before ever you assess the student. Now, coming to the different types of assessment, there are many, but I choose 5. Among the 5, 2 are prioritized for this research. One, we talk about diagnostic assessment, and we say it's an assessment which the teacher normally takes at the beginning. Usually as a professional, when you get into the class, you first of all try to know the strength of the students, what you've taught them before, by asking them questions. That's we call it diagnosis, so that you will know where they are familiar, where you should go over or not. The next one, talk about formative assessment, is an assessment which is we normally do every day in the school. It's there to give guide and get solution for immediate problems. You normally see when the teacher is lecturing or is teaching the faculty, you reach a point, he puts an exercise on the board, he say, who can try? It's a formative assessment to see how far he has gone. Then we talk about the interim assessment. It comes within maybe just 2 weeks after the faculty have done something. Let me test my students to see how best they are prepared for the coming end of year exams. Then we have the benchmark assessment. In our country, in Africa, we have what we call the West African Examination Council. That is the body responsible for setting exams for all African countries at the end of the upper senior school. So when you get that paper, it will take you to the university. So before ever that exams come, schools comes together and form and give a mock final to the students 2 weeks to the exams to keep them ready for the end of the year exam, which we call now summative assessment. That's the assessment that will give you the final paper, the ticket that will let you go either to the university. What type of university? Are you going to a training college, or you are going to a polytechnic or a pre-voc institution? Those are the 5. Then we come to these factors. Here in the factors that I choose to be are the paramount factor that's affecting assessment. When we talk about strategy, In the strategy, we have elements that we consider. The frequent assessment to the students. You assess them frequently to know that how strong are they, and even you, the teacher, to know how best you are delivering to the students. You draw questions across the syllabus, where don't just center the question in a particular topic. Some students, they have the knowledge, the creativity of picking a topic and say, this I'm going to put pressure on. If all questions came from that one, he's sure of getting a best grade more than those that are stronger than him. So cut across. You draw applied question, strict invigilation. That's another point again, we have a problem. Invigilators, when they are invigilating students, they stand by the door. They serve as if they are guides, looking for authorities that are coming. Then they tell the student somebody is coming. That is wrong. As an invigilator, you have to have the honor that is a task that has been given to you to assess individuals that are going to be sent outward to represent the institution. Then you give enough time to exams, taking exams continuously, like what I said, the mock final, closer to the summative. You assess the students every day, they go for exams every day, so that you can know the strength of them. Now, the second one, we talk about challenges. In the assessment, there are a lot of challenges, but the key ones we look at. The first one, we talk about malpractice, which is now endemic in the system of students. They don't want to do anything. Now they even ask special questions. Just imagine, it is indirect form of exams malpractice, because some of them, when they give them those, they prepare other notes so that they come with them. That is wrong. Sitting accommodation is a big problem. Behavior of the invigilator, disparity of question and answers, and not starting exams on time. That's the problem. Students will be prepared. They are on full stress whenever they see exams. Students are in stress, expecting that the exam will take place by 12. When you come, they shift it to 1. When 1 comes, they shift it to 2. You paralyze the zeal of the student. Then the next one, influence. The key influences are we have attending lectures regularly. If a student comes to school regularly, that will motivate him. There are what philosophers says. He said, what you hear, you can forget. What you see, you can recall. What you do, you understand. So if the student is coming to the school regularly and he listening to the teacher here, and he see the teacher doing exercises, and the teacher gave exercise to them, and he does it, definitely going to understand. That's why attending regular is very important. Creativity of the student. The student should be able to be creative. In our days, you can see when a note is given to you that have a long advantage or disadvantage, by just getting an acronym, you can recall all of those one. Creativity, intelligence of the students, accurate and writing speed. The students has to be fast. The educational background, the background of the student, where he came from, has to be strong. That's why philosophers also say any disadvantage, it results to another disadvantage. If the parent is poor, he cannot send his student to a standard school. That student will end up not getting a good job, because most of the good jobs now, they are benched on exams. Until you pass the exam, before ever you are asked for an interview for you to be eligible to be employed. So if you went to a very poor school, a poor university, you end up getting a result that is not authentic to save your life and even the family. We talk about the importance of assessment. There I assess them about the strongly agreed, disagreed, neutral, and all the rest of it. Then now come to the main purpose of the study that I've just said. When I'm in the field, I went through the level, a lecturer, senior lecturer, exams officer, we are really assess students. I thought, assessment is the main key, because whenever they say exams, assessment, even the most troublesome students, they shape themselves. So I want to know what are the factors that will disturb those students. Some of them are very intelligent, but because of the stress, they cannot perform. So we need to find a way to combat that situation. Now, the research cap of this, many writers have looked at study habit, income of the parents, motivation in terms of determining the assessment. But only few writers looked at the strategies, the challenges, the influence, the important, summative, and so I bring all those other ones so that I can be able to see how these things affect assessment. Now, coming right down to the objective, 4 research objectives were raised and 3 hypotheses were formulated. In the 4 objectives we have, I want to examine if the lecturers knew that or agreed that assessment is very important, because whatever you want to do, first, the people that you are going to ask, you must get their views that yes, it is important, because everything that you take important, you put all strength in it in order to actualize its value. Identifying which strategy that is mostly utilized in terms of assessing, identifying the most critical challenges that encountered during assessment, to examine the key factors that influence student assessment. Now again, to the hypothesis. The null and the alternative hypothesis were tested for the purpose of the studies. The first hypothesis, I talk about summative assessment. Does it impact student assessment? That is a null hypothesis. Under it, you have the alternative that summative assessments do impact. Then the second one, formative assessment does not impact. The null hypothesis, you write formative assessment impact. The third null hypothesis, there is no correlation between summative and formative assessment on student academic assessments, which have a null and alternative hypothesis that there is a correlation between formative and summative assessments on students. Now I come to the methodology. In as much as I'm far off here in India, and I want to upgrade my college because there I went through. I'm here in order to get more idea, because you people here, you have the reservoir of knowledge. So we want to come and fill the vessels that are empty so that we can able to build up Africa. I'm very much happy about India, the way you people are doing. Education is a priority, which we want to prioritize so that we can come up. So therefore, the research is a quantitative research method. A simple random sampling technique was used to collect 150 from 437 lecturers, so that each, I use a simple random sampling because so that each of the lecturer has an opportunity or a chance to be selected. I don't want to be biased. The research is conducted in Freetown Polytechnic College in Sierra Leone, West Africa. That's why I made a request that my country, I want you to be in this noble institution. So structured questionnaire was used to collect primary data. I used a questionnaire because the questionnaire can be filled relatively and quickly, even if the researcher is not there. So what I did after I've developed the questionnaire, I transformed them in a Google form, then I send them through WhatsApp, others in their email. They fill in the information and send back the responses to me. So it makes it easier. The questionnaire, we are in 5-letter scale, from 5, which is strongly agree, to 1, which is strongly disagree. The questionnaire has 2 sections. One, the demographic of the respondents, and B, the perception of the respondents. The demographic talk about the gender, the work experience and the qualifications. The perception talk about the strategy, challenges, important, influence, summative, and formative. Secondary data we are also collected through reading of related literature review from both national and international journals, thesis, and educational material. As I told you, those journals that I read, both national and international, there I got those factors, the strategies, the influence, the challenges, the importance. Some of the researchers, some only take 1, 2, but by reading, I brought all those together because I know they are very important. Now talk about data analysis. The analysis of the data, I look at the objectives first. On the first one, a part of the hypothesis. In the objective, I analyze by using frequency table, percentage, and bar chart, so that I can be able to know. Then normality test, one sample t-test, correlation and regression analysis we are used to analyze and test the hypothesis at 0.05 level of significance. The findings. In the objective, I came to realize that it is obvious, the respondents saying that 78% of the respondents agree that assessment is important. That's give a way out of forging ahead. Only 14 said they are neutral and 8 said they disagree. The strategy most utilized, strategies that are most, they are frequent assessment, exams duration, and strict invigilation. The major influence, regular attendance, creativity of the student and intelligence of the student. The challenges, we have sitting accommodation. That's a big problem for us. Behavior of the invigilator and exam malpractices. The hypotheses that I used to test. Then I look at the normalities. And before ever coming to the normality test, I try to test my data in terms of reliability and validity by using the alpha variant, wherein it's 0, all of them, they're above 0.7. So therefore, in the normality test, I looked at hypothesis 1 and 2. 1 talks about summative assessment and 2 talks about formative assessment. And both of them, I came to realize that their p-value for both summative and they are less than alpha value. And therefore, the alternative hypothesis is accepted, which says that summative and formative assessment, they have an impact on student academic assessment. I also use the QQ plot, and I find out that all the points, they fall within the straight line to show that the data, there's a normal distribution. Then I use the one sample t-test for both summative and formative assessment, meaning in this area, for the one sample t-test, the mean I use to determine whether the null hypothesis is accepted or the alternative hypothesis is accepted. In this one, you can see a 15, that is 2.2766 is greater than 15. That 15, it came about, which we call the calculated value. It all came about one from the Likert scale that have 5 points from 1 to 5, and the point again that I used to substantiate the formative, it is 5. And if you look at the 5 points in the Likert scale, the third one is the neutral, it is either both sides. So that third one, which is 3, I multiply it by 5, it gives me 15. That gives me the calculated value. So when I use the one sample statistics, I find out that the mean in the one sample statistics for summative and formative, both of them are greater than the calculated value. This also gives a supportive statement that the alternative hypothesis is accepted, that says that summative and formative, they do impact student academic assessment. Then I come to the correlation. When I do the correlation, that's very, very interesting. I find out that there is a weak correlation between formative and summative assessment. But interestingly, it shows a significant value. That is 0.22, which is less than 0.5. This automatically moved us its lead, even though the correlation is weak, because the correlation from 0 is no correlation, 0 to 3.0 is a weak correlation. If you look at that one, it falls the it is 0.262, which falls within 0 to 0.33 to 0.3. So meaning it's a weak correlation. Since it is weak, despite of being weak, it still have a significance, and therefore it moves us. It forces us to move for regression so that we can be able to find out the significant impact. In the regression analysis now, 3 components are used again, the model summary. It also tells us that, yes, there is, the R value gives us 0.262, which gives us a quality of prediction of the dependent variable, wherein the R square value of 6.9%, it is a proportion of the variance of the dependent variable, which can be explained by the independent variable. Then the ANOVA, in the area of the ANOVA, we talk about the F ratio. If you look at the F ratio, is 1, which is the degree of freedom, by 1 in 3.138 equal to 10.127. That 10.127 is the F ratio. And then you have the P is less than the 0.05, which is the alpha value. That tells us that the regression model is a good fit for the data. Then the coefficient, when we look at the coefficient under the unstandardized coefficient, shows that the summative assessment equal to 16 points, that's 16.363, it is the constant, plus the formative assessment, which is 0.241, meaning that for any increase in the formative assessment, there will be an increase of 0.41 in the summative assessment. Then come to the results. It is obvious that it is shown by the respondent that 85% confirm that assessment is important. Number two, frequent assessment of students is the most important, is the mostly utilized strategy, frequent assessment. Regular attendance of students will be greatly influenced. It can influence greatly the student, because when the students come to class regularly, it gives a great influence. Sitting accommodation stands to be the biggest challenges we encounter. Number five, the alternative hypothesis were accepted for both summative and formative assessment. And there is a weak correlation, as we all notice, in terms of correlation, but yet still there is a significant relation between them. The independent variable is statistically significant in predicting the dependent variable. That brings us to the limitation of the studies. The limitation now tells us that the research was conducted in Freetown Polytechnic in Sierra Leone, meaning if it is conducted again into another country, in another polytechnic, difference will come again. Number two, a sample size of 150 lecturers was used. If a large sample size is used for the same research, the results might improve better. That's all limitation. I use only 150. Others can take 200 sample size. You can do it in the same institution, or you take it to another institution in another country. Number three, the researcher analyzed the strategy, challenges, and all the rest. Thereby, if other uses like the family income, the communication, learning facility, proper guidance from the lecturers, that can also bring another different result. Then the hypothesis only tested for just summative and formative. Definitely, if you, as I took the 5, we are in the diagnostic, interim, benchmark, formative and formative. I use formative and summative. If another one, a researcher, decided to use the benchmark, he used the interim and use the diagnostic, he can also get different results that can also predict another thing. In conclusion, it was confirmed that it was confirmed from the respondent that assessment is the most important factor on student academic achievement. In order to maintain its importance, strategies like frequent assessment of students, given enough time to exams, strict evaluation, applied questions to be drawn, and the challenges like sitting accommodation, invigilators' behavior, disparity of questions and answers should be taken into serious consideration. And lastly, regular attendance of the student has to be encouraged. By so doing, it will improve their credibility and intelligence. With that, I send my thanks to we all from Sorie, Saidu, Kamara, Sierra Leone, West Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was brilliant presentation. I would like to request each and everyone to give the big hand for this brilliant presentation to Kamara. And we have seen that you have taken one unique topic and assessment process. You have formulated 3 hypotheses, that is your null hypothesis, your alternative hypothesis. And hereafter, we have seen that starting from the normality test to your correlation, regression analysis, you have done the well systematic manner research. And thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation you have given here. And we would like to congratulate you for such a wonderful presentation. And you have done very systematic research. That is very, very important. And the results are quite interesting here. We have seen that you have presented here. Our best wishes for your future research. Thank you very much, and big hand for you. And now I would like to take the opportunity to unmute our development officer, Samuel, also for one comment here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kamara. In fact, I enjoyed everything that you presented, especially on assessment. It is indeed very important that For every lecturer, every educator, every teacher, assessment is key, both to know the progress of a student and you, the educator yourself. And the problem the Africans we are having is that we base all our assessment solely on bookish, making it that almost everything that we are assessed on in the examination is through writing, which has made it that most of those who are into allied sciences and co, those who are from the basic level in various countries, they don't even know the practical way. They think that always right assessment is just putting down pen and paper and writing exam. So I want to thank you very much for your presentation, and it's an enlightenment, and it has opened most of us our mind. Thank you very much, and then we hope to meet you some other time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, and for messages in this platform. Thank you very much.